I feel like the side of Frank gets really scary. Talia will be able to sort of deny a lot of what Rakan wants to do, especially with that scattered ground. And I don't know, I feel like the ease of execution in this game, who do you think it favors? I feel like it possibly favors the side of DCG. I mean, automatically you have that R button Malphite as well as Rakan being able to follow up on that, depending on how Talia kind of plays it.
I think you have to give it to DCG for the ease of execution. Whenever I see Malphite and Rakan on the same team, it's pretty much a shoe-in at that point. And it's going to be really, you know, I kind of mentioned it in Champs League, but I feel like Eminem is going to have a very tough time because the Thresh Lantern can kind of be traded for one cooldown, but there's so many things you have to be aware of, right? The Rakan, the Malphite, and the Gragas, all that bring a significant amount of threat. Something real interesting already is that Nesty has gone for the phase rush in this matchup. So once again, you know, valuing the scaling as opposed to having Comet to poke down Talia in the lane. Everything else, though, is looking fairly normal. Solarkill does not have the Ghost, which is a little surprising to me. Because I feel like it's going to be so hard to actually catch up to Xayah in these fights. Maybe instead just wants to flash ultra through a wall.
You definitely can look for that angle and eliminating, even if you end up trading just that Cassante for Xayah as the game progresses, you have to kind of like that trade for the side of Frank, but we do see early trades here, and Nesty getting the better of it, honestly, because of that phase rush and just keeping up with him auto-attacking. So already seeing good use out of that rune in particular as Jinx, one of the better champions at this level 1 push.
He's going to secure that bot priority. What can they do with it? Not often that you see Xayah Rakan being the ones on the back foot at level 1, but again, Jinx just pushes a bit too fast. Ward is dropped in the river, and it was also a ward placed by Nesty onto Hollow's red buff. So he's going to be able to spot that out when he goes for it. Nice little flay there. Just trades a little bit of damage back over. And it is the cult picked up by Criscata as well. So it's going to scale very well into this game, but maybe in the early game has to be a bit more careful. D-bite here for Eminem.
Yeah, and I guess as this game progresses, I think Jinx probably one of the best hyper carries in the game at the moment. Just especially if she gets sort of these resets in team fights is where you really find the power. And it will be hard though, as Pretender now getting looked at, has to probably flash early, does use it as Hollow comes in now. He's getting really low, he's going to be taken out, and it is first blood now for the side of DCG. It goes over to Hana.
Really nice pickup there from the side of DCG, and I think Hollow kind of just didn't respect the fact that Pretender was still level 2, so there was no combo that could come out there. Probably only had the Q and the E. As well as Hollow not having the Aftershock, does just fall pretty much immediately. And that's not the kind of kill that you want to give over, especially to the Xin Zhao. Now has to try and defend his red buff. Could even just have Hana play around bot to guarantee the priority and then look into the jungle. Perhaps instead could look for something mid again. They know Pretender does not have flash this time. Ping does go down onto the red buff, but I think it's going to be hard for Xin to actually get in here, especially with the mid priority currently the way it is. Instead, could maybe play for double scuttle.
Ooh.
Top lane looking very dicey.
Yeah, heavy health trades really between these two as Hanabi looked to recall, but because solo kill didn't, he also will not. And health advantage now for that Malphite, but ultimately there's no real kill threat until level 6, even with these health bars.
Hollow enters that top river, looking towards that Scuttle Crab. Maybe he can actually get it away before Xin Zhao gets on the map. And Pretender, after having lost his flash, does have to be a lot more careful around mid lane, even just in the 1v1. A quick trade that can come out of Gragas and then disengage with the phase rush is a lot more problematic here.
Hana looking for a gank here on top, and Solarkill really should respect this. Will spot out Xin on a ward if he does leave that tri-bush, but he's very far forward in this lane right now. Maybe look to go on cannon. He is actually going to walk back, so perhaps thinking he was on a ward. Definitely wasn't.
Does just return there to his own jungle. Nesty manages to crash in this wave and finding himself pretty much even in the mid lane, which is obviously Gragas is quite good at neutralizing, but you've kind of seen that Nesty, despite neutralizing, has fallen down pretty significantly in CS in both previous games as he'd be using his priority kind of around the map or just kind of falling behind in the isolated 1v1. But here is completely even, and while it's only 5 minutes in, it's definitely a great start for DCG, especially given that their composition is going to just make team fighting so easy. If Eminem can't find himself a big lead here, I'd be a little worried for them in some of these mid-game fights.
Yeah.
Hana looking towards this dragon. Currently has both the bot and mid priority, so it should go over. Don't think there's any way here really from Frank to come and contest this. So far, feels like DCG kind of just winning across the board. Although Kaiwing, maybe...
Kaiwing and Eminem are coming to this objective. Hollow has a blast cone available for himself. Are they going to look? Zap will land onto Hana, but ultimately a bit too late if they ever did actually want to contest, and the dragon will be going to the side of DCG.
Nice pick up there for sure. Have themselves a 600 gold lead, as well as now the first dragon. Eyes will probably be towards that next Herald.
Okay, fight breaking out here, Bob. Nice flay, as well as the Flame Chompers are going to find Orca. Is going to commit the flash. Kaiwing does too. Twisted Advance will find the kill there for Eminem. Really well played.
It was extremely well played, actually, and I think that Eminem grabbing that first kill is very important in this game, especially if he can manage to get some additional plays off of it. Probably will just look for the reset, but it can't be understated quite how important it is for Eminem to be the one to pick up that kill as well. It was double flashes used by Frank, so they're not going to be able to look for that for a while, but certainly a worthy investment. As Orca, he's going to path out back onto the bot side. Hana's here as well. They're going to grab the Scuttle Crab. There shouldn't be any contest. So we're going to replay on what happened here. The hook went wide, but the Flame Chompers were very nicely placed. Actually managed to lock up both members for a pretty long time. And the Lantern Flash and then the Flash W committed out of Hollow. Did have it back up after that early skirmish. Unfortunately, Orca wasn't able to get out. Managed to get the kill over to Eminem, which is great news. Herald spawning in just 50 more seconds. And there's no flash on the jungle and support for Frank. So we kind of depends, I guess, more on top lane whether or not they contest it. I feel like they probably should. At the same time, you really don't want to give over any trades. Something that you have to be careful of starting up Herald versus Talia is some kind of four-man coming out on the other side of the map very quickly. They'll be looking towards DCG to make sure they have control around mid before they look towards that. Or could even just look back bot instead. Pretender now is going to go for his reset. Does not have the TP quite available yet, but is just going to come back onto the map. Does grab himself the Lost Chapter and is not building the tier. So not a build that we often see on Talia. The most common is to just go for the Liandry's in the tier, but maybe now we'll instead go something like Liandry's Cosmic could be the play.
Yeah, trades on top, but it is Hana now starting up this Rift Herald. Will likely go over to their side as there is Kaiwing, however, is coming up for this, and it is going to reset, so maybe there will be a contest as AD carries do both stay bot and just hope to get some scaling done.
We might see some sort of 4v4. Solarkill is the one who has prior over top side, but if Malphite can get down to this fight, which I think he can now, Solarkill, he already invested his turn, so it's going to be hard for him to get back in, and I think Frank, they're still kind of playing for it, but I think the window's over and should probably go back bot side. Cascada even's coming up.
Okay, this will be the Super Mega Death Rocket, hopefully. Oh, nice usage there. It was close, but no cigar, and it will be now, honestly, Eminem getting some free time bot, and it is pretty good for the side of Frank to be able to get that, because it looked pretty impossible to take that Rift Herald, especially with Malphite just having that R button. So getting as much gold as possible onto Eminem here, even picking up a plate for himself, a bit of extra farm, and now he'll be okay to just continue scaling. You really want to get to the sort of 2-item mark, as you do with all AD carries, but particularly on Jinx, as you will start to do so much damage with that explosion on your auto attack.
If he will. Hook comes out, but Hana's here.
Really low health now onto Orca. Can they find it? Looks like he might go down to Ignite. Does. Kaiwing picks it up as Jinx goes excited. Do they have the damage here to win out in this 2v3? Not just yet, but Hollow now appearing. Does have Nature's Grasp. Cascada, flash available importantly. But is he going to be able to use it well? No, he doesn't have to. Hana going back in. Eminem, will he find another kill? He will not. He will. Actually, it goes over to Hollow. It's a 1v1 now. Cascada has to commit flash. Unfortunately, Shutdown goes on to Hollow, but ultimately a 2-for-2.
Was a very exciting fight there in the bot side. Both AD carries, I think, coming out of it better off than anyone else. Managed to get themselves a kill here, though. Cascada, he lost both of his sums and is going to be forced to reset quite early. And I wonder now, where will you look with this Herald? I think everywhere still has plates up. The side of DCG. Are they going to have to maybe look towards some sort of regank onto bot side maybe? Eminem, who also does not have sums, could be pressured and then drop the Herald afterwards. So it is a slight gold lead here for Frank. As we'll get a look at what actually unfolded here. Initial play, I think, from Frank was really, really good. They managed to take out Orca so early. This is just a 2v3 Kingdom, just trading one back. There was a lot invested by Hana to chase this down. Did invest the flash, and then it was a re-engage that came out from Hollow. Cleanse was committed early, and they could have left it at that, but decided to go for more. And Hollow, despite having the phase rush, can't quite get out far enough, and it's just one shot pretty much by Cascada, who did have to flash away from that W, and was very close actually to hitting that anyway. We return to live.
Dragon now started. Looks like Frank want to contest this. We do see mid-prio is in favor of Nesty, although will we see anything? They do have Weaver's Wall available. Dragon a bit too low now. Nature's Grasp comes out. Are they going to look for a fight? Doesn't look like it. I feel like you're okay here as DCG to give that one up and allow Eminem to keep going towards his items. As we see an initiation started, Orca is just eliminated. Kill goes to Kaiwing, and another kill now found for this bot lane. But again, it isn't Jinx finding it. Another hook lands. This will be likely Hana going down, although Kaiwing getting extremely low here. Will Hollow be able to find it? It looks like with that he will. And now Orca going away. Sorry, it was Cascada actually that died earlier. My bad.
Kaiwing is just finding hook after hook and really bringing Frank into this game. Despite losing that second drag, which can be a bit troublesome, they managed to get a lot of gold back. Unfortunately, it was Kaiwing that picked up some of those kills, but now this gives Jinx time on that bot tower. You have to feel should be worth it for the side of Frank, and to bring up again, when Frank are ahead, they almost always close it out. We'll take a look. Initial hook onto Cascada is exceptional. Managed to flay him over the wall and take him out very, very early. And then it kind of looks like that's going to be it. But Kaiwing, he goes for more. And from here, blind hooks the bush. Manages to find Hana. And I think, was it Hana? I think Hana went down. Maybe it was Orca. It
was Hana, yeah.
Hana ends up going down. Unfortunately, wasn't picked up by Eminem there. But Kaiwing, hey, he's feeling himself in this game and is doing very, very well.
Yeah, Hook's definitely landing for him. He's 2-1-2 here on the Thresh, and Hollow as well, 2-2-2. So while they are ahead in gold, perhaps not on the members you'd exactly want it to be on. Orca now on the top side as Kaiwings and Eminem now rotate through to the mid lane. Look for potentially more tower damage, although perhaps not yet.
And in that replay, I think the Herald was dropped mid in the meantime. It looks like a couple plates went down on mid, as we will get pause here. But the Herald being dropped mid, I'm not sure who actually ended up picking up the gold. It might have been Cascada, because I think he did path mid out of base. Would be interesting to know that though, but you can see tower plates all tied up there at 3 and 3, and it looks like it's probably another internet issue, given the Nesty did just disconnect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like as Frank here, you're actually so happy in this game. You've now got Kraken available on Eminem, and just one step closer to being able to be that menace in team fights that we know Jinx to be.
They are, yeah, and I think that one thing, we were kind of bringing up quite a lot before this game was just, how exceptional DCG's 5v5 is, if they can get to that point kind of unscathed. But now falling behind in gold, they do have the Dragon, so they can afford to delay and, buy themselves a lot of scaling. But we're kind of saying if Eminem can get strong here, maybe has the kind of, I guess, ability to put the game in his favor. So Frank, like you said, I think they're off to a pretty solid start. And they're a team that plays so well from ahead. I think other teams could maybe falter with just a 2k goal to this point. But Frank, you always have to feel that's going to translate to more.
You definitely do. I will say, though, on the side of DCG, if ever there was a team comp to be able to take down an AD carry, it's one that involves a Malphite. And so for Eminem to get absolutely the most, usage out of his lead, he's going to have to play so well against Unstoppable Force.
It's real tough. I think he needs to be able to flash the Malphite ult and then has to have like the Rakan ult flayed off of him or something. There's a lot of tools that he has to kind of dodge out from this. Hopefully we'll be getting to the game sort of soon. Looks like they are just checking with Nesty's connection.
Yeah, and I guess they do have the likes of Maokai as well as Talia to sort of minimize the effectiveness perhaps of that Rakan. But again, yeah, you can't stop the Malphite at all. So after that, it's really up to Eminem to dodge out of that ult and try and, well, we come back and all action up in the top lane. But I guess, yeah, it's up to the team to sort of keep Rakan and Xin off him, but then it's up to him to watch out for Malphite.
lolclips got his Sunfire already. Has him way before Hanabi here, though could be getting looked at. There is no Malphite ult.
Just to be careful here, but as you said, no Malphite ult. He does have his flash available.
Doesn't look like they're going to be able to look onto him, and Pretender, he manages to pick up the Leandries, and I'm curious what he goes for second, if it will just be that Cosmic, maybe looking away from the tier. And it is a pretty significant lead here for Eminem. It's got himself, around about that 20 CS lead. The Kraken completed already. Does feel pretty good. 2 minutes on the next Dragon, and I think both sides definitely going to be looking towards that. On the side of Frank, you kind of have to contest. You don't want to go into a game state where you have to play up against 3 Drags. And DCG, despite being behind, have such a strong 5v5 that they probably don't want to give it up either. To be expecting in 2 minutes for a lot of action to unfold. Frank, they're the ones that have control over this mid wave, so that affords them a lot of options. They can just move to the side lanes. And the fact that this game, that they both have the current winning mid and sides, it looks very good for them to continue snowballing this game. I think it's going to be hard for DCG to slow this down. But in those team fights, it can be very, very difficult. Frank, now looking towards this Herald, and if they can grab this early, can always use it at that Dragon timing just to kind of allow themselves first move onto the Drag. Could also be nice just to take down this tower early. Establish yourself a little bit of vision, a little bit of control around mid. Now does get picked up by Hollow. The Jack Show completed here for Hanabi, and Nesty in this side is just going to grab himself a top tower in this, or a bot tower, and this should be traded as well on the other side of the map. Solo Kill is working on that. It is the first tower goal though that goes to Nesty, and that's going to help him get this Rod of Ages before 18 minutes.
Certainly will. Here we see, everyone really converging around this middle lane, especially with Hanabi here. You have to be so careful. Weaver's wall comes out, but doesn't really do much. Rift Shield does go off, but won't find the tower, and with the wave clear of Xayah being in this game, it isn't likely to go down before the Dragon. So 30 seconds, recalls coming out pretty much across the board as Solo Kill finishes off the top tower. Looks like he's going to push one more wave. Doesn't have teleport available, so could be a bit risky perhaps, as Hanabi does.
Yeah, Solo Kill needs to get down the map pretty soon. Does probably have time to start walking down. I'm surprised that he isn't moving here immediately though. It's only 10 seconds away. I can't expect Frank to want to give this one up. Okay, now he is moving down, and Pretender's basing and most likely going to TP back. Yeah, TPs to that mid tower. Does have himself the Sork shoes as well. And currently, DCG have a little bit better control.
Cascada has to use that Featherstorm already. Has a nice shove. Will find him. He's really, really low now. Maybe with that, they can no longer contest. Solokil going to stay here and guard these 4 as the rest of Frank head down towards this Dragon.
Very nice shove there. I'm actually quite surprised that shove connected, honestly. It didn't look like it was going to hit. But that's an extremely big pickup there. They managed to get the drag, stop the drag win condition for DCG, as well as burn both the Cascada Sums and Ultimate, which makes him very vulnerable. I'm not sure he'll be able to keep this mid tower up for much longer. Hanabi, though, is going to trade something back on the other side of the map. Solokil, I think, can keep this up, but it was a lot of damage there.
Solokil does arrive in time, and here we see Hollow getting really aggressive in this jungle. It will be Hana trading a lot of damage back as he looks to continue this blue buff, and ultimately Hollow is able to walk away from that exchange, but we see there if Xin finds Hollow caught out, he's going to be able to take him down.
Ooh, Hook does go wide. Orca knows this is a scary place to be, but I think this should be the mid and bot tier 1s falling pretty soon. Bot taken now. Pretender can just come mid and probably drop his ult if it can't be taken naturally.
Nature's Grasp is used here. Cascada really low. Does have ult, wait, not even close to back up, so they do just have to run away from that and concede the mid tower. So all control of the map now really favors the side of Frank as we head towards the 20-minute mark, and looks like Phantom Dancer will be the choice out of Eminem as his second item in this game.
He's going to be really, really strong when he completes that and has himself a pretty sizable CS lead, as well as just picking up a lot of gold from these towers. Even a lot of assist gold, which, you know, kind of goes unnoticed. You can see there, it is the side of Frank that are leading the gold charge. Now, Cascada is pretty close to everyone, but Eminem, he is definitely pulling ahead. It still remains pretty close, though, in the gold. It's only 2,000 lead to Frank. And I still think the side of DCG probably have the better team fight, but it kind of feels like you can't really get the pieces together, because the problem is Hanabi is always stuck in the side lane, Solico getting priority over them. And so often, Frank are managing to kind of win the fight before it starts, either by, you know, the Maokai or the Talia ult just making it more favorable for them. But you have to feel if...
Hollow will be quickness used here, finds Hollow. We see a fight breaking out. Nice shove finds two as Hana is about to go down, as well as Orca already being down. Solo kill now on the back line. Will he be able to find anything? Nesty gets all out on. He's going to go down. Hana actually makes it escape for himself as Featherstorm committed there. There is no Baron yet in this game, but they would have been doing it if there was.
Frank, they're starting to run away with this game, and I want to think kind of questionable engage there that comes out of DCG. I really feel like Eminem or Pretender have to be your targets at all costs. And the fact that you're investing cooldowns on the people that aren't them feels very questionable. So, you know, I was saying kind of the DCG have the better ease of execution, but honestly, they're kind of struggling to execute. Can't find the engages that they need. And it is just Frank who are kind of managing to find consistent picks over and over and have 7 kills to 3 now.
Yeah, and I want to compliment Pretender, really. He's found a couple of crucial shoves twice in a row. I mean, one on Cascada and there, the two on both Orca and Hana. And he's really shown how strong he is on this Talia. We saw it in their last series where he landed a couple of like 4-man knockups, 3-man knockups on this Talia. And I mean, they banned out his LeBlanc, but the Talia is looking almost as scary as that was.
Is having a lot of pressure for sure, and Nesty on the Gragas hasn't really found the same impact that it did, especially in this series up against Blitz. We know he's good on the champ, but has been hitting these spikes, this Rod of Ages in particular, so late into the game that it kind of feels like, while it is a good neutralizer, if the rest of his team doesn't get ahead, that's all it really is. We'll have to see, though. They still have great teamfight ultimates. Can anything come out? Kaiwing, he's about to face check, does ward out Hanabi on the Malphite. And I don't think Malphite has altered anyone at all this game. Maybe altered the Cassante in the 1v1, but the fact that, you know, we're 21 minutes in, 3 dragons and Hanabi is kind of nowhere to be seen is kind of feels like the Malphite pick is a little lackluster at this point. All it takes, though, is one good ultimate, right?
Yeah, well, that is how that champion often tends to work, and really it's just crucial. If he finds one onto this Jinx, then it can really be a quick shift in the tempo of this entire game. So we have Baron now live. Second dragon, possibly for Frank, or third for DCG, spawning in 40 seconds time.
Yeah, it isn't long now. Can any more spikes be picked up before this? I don't think Cascada will be able to hit 2 items in time. So you have to think that at least this team fight should be favored to Frank if Eminem can manage to survive. Obviously, if he can be taken out by the likes of the Malphite and the Rakan, then DCG probably can win, but I think if I were DCG, I'd probably give this one up and try farm 2 items on your Xayah, because I think contesting this into the 2-item Jinx is very risky. Although maybe Frank want to look towards the Baron instead. They are positioning around it, or could just be warding it out to stop any sort of trade. And now we'll move back towards that bot side. Pretender is going to be matching the top lane here, so it's currently a 4v4, but both of these players have TP up and available. Most likely will not need to be committed, though. And now, DCG wisely, they're moving back towards the Baron. They'll be able to regain the control, and they do have first move onto it, but I still think they kind of can't start it, because you don't want this fight before Cascada has 2 items.
You definitely don't, and looks like Frank will be okay to just take that dragon. They pick up their second of the game, and now heading down mid. You're so far behind on these 80 carry items. It's so close to this Navori, however. Once you get that, a lot of power back to the side of DCG, and the 2-item Xayah can really shred through your team, so it's not so clear-cut as to the 2k gold lead. Because as you saw before in sort of the gold totals, while the rest of Frank are all very far ahead, Cascada is staying on reasonably level pace.
Yeah, isn't too far behind. And you kind of feel that, you know, while ADCs are sitting on the components, it's not the biggest difference. It's really when those kind of 2-3 item spikes come through that you kind of feel the difference in your ADCs. So at least for now, will mostly be similar. And it is the Shadow Flame picked up by Pretender, which is honestly kind of a strange pick. Would have thought it'd be the Void or the Cosmic in this game, but interesting choice regardless. Does give him a lot of pressure on the Cruscata in particular. Maybe he values that very highly. Solo kill. He's trying to get aggressive on this mid wave, but nothing's really going to come of it. And I would be surprised if there's any major action before this next drag. Kind of feels like, unless DCG are the ones engaging, and it feels like they can't engage on anyone except for Eminem, there shouldn't be much happening at all. Maybe Frank can control this vision and look towards top tier 2, or even the Baron, but does feel very scary to start it up. A lot of pings on this mid wave.
Yeah, getting control over mid here as Kaiwing's hook will not quite have the range on it to land onto Hana there. And a lot of our fights we saw earlier on in the game did start off with Kaiwing landing some miraculous hooks, and perhaps that's one place we can look towards maybe another team fight start, as he is walking forward here. Again, not the range on it just yet, but Hanabi up there. Do have to be careful of him. Jinx certainly cannot walk anywhere in this jungle while he is out of vision.
Yeah, Hana's just been sitting on this wall the whole time. It's finally going to be able to sweep it out. But it can just be replaced here by Frank. Once the sweeper expires, Hawker, he's trying to find some sort of flank. But I think Frank are playing it well. They're maintaining this control. Also making sure not to show their carries, which is extremely important. Pretender has the stopwatch, but Eminem only has the flash. But if they can keep the carry safe, once the initial engage comes out, the backline of Jinx and Talia will definitely out DPS.
Yeah, we see Shirelli is now used as Hanabi is the target for Hollow. Solo kill is going to be so tanky with Jaksho fully proc. Nice two-man knock-up, but no follow-up for that one there. We do see Recall now coming out, although it's not going to be actually cancelled. Recall does come through, so a bit of control will be given back to DCG to clear out their jungle, as well as this river of those wards surrounding the Baron.
River is cleared out, as you said, and while that fight, nothing ended up coming of it. That hook was extremely close to hitting from Kaiwing. In fact, I think he thought it was going to hit, given that he dropped the box straight after. And maybe now, DCG, I don't think they can look to start the Baron, but they have a fair amount of control, so it might just come down to another dragon fight. Currently sitting at 2 apiece. But it is Eminem who's now completed 3 items, and I think having the LDR is extremely important for hitting Hanabi in particular. Currently has 400 armor with his passive up. Cruscata also working on an LDR of his own, but without it, isn't quite going to be able to shred solo kill in the same way.
Knight's Val the second pickup here for Hollow, so giving a bit more tankiness to this Jinx, and we'll see if that's the difference between her surviving and dying from, you know, what is likely to be a Malphite, even potentially Gragas and Rakan dive.
Oh, they're looking for something.
Using to come to Hanabi's aid. Hook actually just threads through the middle of everyone as we see Cassante here tried to go unstoppable, but it is Featherstorm used to dodge out of that. Importantly, he does retain his ult for now.
Yeah, Cruscata using the Featherstorm though ahead of the drag. Needs to be now much more careful in this fight. No flash here for Kaiwing, but he's not really ever going to be the main target. I guess does deny the flash lantern. They could come out and save Eminem. And Pretender still has a stopwatch, so can play very aggressive, knowing that he can always just trade it with the Malphite ult.
Yeah, fighting over mid-wave. His priority for Frank here is solo kill, looking for Hanabi yet again. Isn't really going to be too much damage here. Now Dragon spawning. Both teams likely to hit here, although maybe DCG try and head towards Baron. Damage is quite high, having that you know, the Xayah, Rakan, as well as Xin Zhao damage for it.
Frank, yeah, they've got the control here, but it's quite hard to actually start up the objective. They're trying to find the engage early. There is a flank coming out from Orca, but these Maokai saplings continue to spot him out and make things difficult. The slow as well buys a lot of time, even if he does manage to get some sort of flank off. Although, looks like they're going to start the drag up. I wonder, will DCG engage?
Solo kill now. Needs to
Nice
be
shove.
careful. Nice shove. We'll find a lot of damage here onto Nesty. He's chunked out to half as this dragon is going to be finished off. It is Hollow able to pick that up and lanterns to safety. So 3 ocean dragons now for the side of Frank. 4.5 minutes really until this last dragon will be up. And will we see the game sort of end around that? I feel like that's probably the next logical objective to be looking for.
You would think so, and one thing you really take away from this is just how good Frank are when they get that lead. They really just slowly grind out the enemy team and don't really give any ways back in, right? Despite DCG having almost the best engaged comp you could ask for with the Malphite and the Rakan, can't quite find it because Eminem especially is always positioned so far away, and Pretender with the flash and the stopwatch isn't actually as vulnerable as you'd think. You kind of need to burn some of these before you can start getting aggressive. Hanabi gobbles up a top tower for himself and will look to reset. And a lot of vision dropped around this Baron area, definitely respecting that. And I think especially now, as the AD carries get more items, the threshold for taking Baron becomes easier and easier. You can just take it very quickly. If you can force your vision deep enough or manage to get some sort of pick, even a chunk could be enough.
Yeah, a chunk on the right member certainly could do it. And it's this sort of time of the game where, particularly as Hollow and as Hana, you have to just avoid dying at all costs, because your death alone can sort of spell the end. As Kaiwing is getting looked at, but is okay to just walk away. The Shirelias is being used so often by Orca to just try and hunt for anything for the side of DCG.
It is really difficult, Ryan. I think something that DCG are maybe suffering from is they've got these hard engaged tools, but they don't really have anything else to burn tools. So a lot of the time when you're playing a comp like this, you want something like a Lissandra or a LeBlanc or something that can kind of just force out sums randomly and engage.
He is going to get jumped on. A lot of abilities used on him. Shut down, goes over to Hana. It's going to be now a 4v5. Will they turn to look at this Baron? It is still quite hard against the likes of Jinx and Talia. We're seeing them, though, go mid. It is a nice explosive cast to find Kaiwing. He goes golden. Flash will be available. He isn't going to be able to use it, so he goes down 2. That is 2 kills now found for DCG as they hit attention towards the Baron.
That could be the way back into this game for DCG. They're starting it up, and I'm not sure if Frank can contest. There's no Lantern here for the Jinx, and Malphite ult still available. Makes this very scary. I don't think you can walk up and contest, so instead, Frank is going to give it up. Ooh, the Jinx rocket, it comes through, but it isn't enough. And with that, the gold lead will be almost completely tied up. And as well, the Baron will last past this dragon spawning, so most likely will even be the 3rd dragon picked up by DCG. So the game remains extremely even this late in the game.
Yeah, and just look what happens. As soon as your jungler goes down, you lose so much, and especially the Maokai. He used all of his abilities, but it wasn't really for any use because no one was nearby to assist him. Just overextending.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I guess just, saw members here and still decided, I think honestly just had no business doing that. Needed to check with saplings or something first. Didn't have a Thresh Lantern in range either. As well as the fact that Frank, they didn't do a great job of neutralizing after. Kaiwing, he was looking up pretty aggressively here. Yeah, even clicked back a couple times. Did not have the flash, so that was punished, but honestly, probably could have stopped the Baron in the 4v5, but once it was a 3v5, just was no longer able to. And shut down, I didn't even realize Thresh had one, but it did go over to Chris Carter. Nice goal for him, and ADC items are almost completely equalized. The gold lead, perhaps for the first time this game, favors DCG ever so slightly.
Absolutely does, and man, what a change of pace now this game can look like. 1 minute until this dragon, and your Jinx is so close to IE, but will almost certainly not be able to find the gold necessary to pick that up. So that is a really important thing to note, and pretty much same items as you pointed out for the AD carries, but it's going to take so much work out of Eminem here to make it work in a team fight against the Gragas, Malphite, Xin, as well as Rakan.
Does feel very difficult, yes. A lot of contesting for this mid-wave. Dragons in only 30 more seconds. I'm surprised that DCG aren't playing for 2 waves right now. They're not really using the fact that they have the Baron that well. Probably need to send Gragas with TP, or even Malphite with TP to the bot side. Because I don't think that Frank should be able to contest this with the Baron waves coming in, but at the moment, all they have to do is 5v5 for the mid-wave. So I think a bit of a mistake here from DCG, and maybe gives Frank the ability to contest. They are now looking towards the drag.
2 seconds now. It will be spawning, so have to see how they play. Both sums available for this Thresh. Heal down for Jinx, but ultimately sums up pretty much around the board. It is just that heal down. As Orca is going to get shoved, but does live. It is importantly third dragon to the side of DCG. We're on double soul point here, and the game is on a thread.
Really is completely even pretty much. Almost the same in kills, gold, and drags. At 33 minutes in the game, and we were kind of coming into this series thinking that Frank would, perhaps even 3-0 the side of DCG. In fact, I think I had DCG as the weakest team in the playoffs to begin with, but here, showing that they can hang with what was our second seed in the regular season, Frank Esports, they also put up a very competitive performance against CFO, so I don't think it's the case of Frank just suddenly fell off. It's more that DCG are suddenly showing that they're certainly a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, they absolutely are, and I would have to check, but I feel like through this game they've maintained this sort of even footing, and I don't even know if I've seen a Malphite ult other than the one time to run away top.
Yeah, it really hasn't. Not sure if it has been used on a champion yet.
Just the threat in itself offers a lot, but I don't know, it's kind of funny to think that we perhaps haven't seen a Malphite ult yet, and we're 34 minutes into the game.
He's holding it for next game, but as we saw in the gold before, it's Criscado who now pulls ahead in the 80 carry gold. He does invest into a stopwatch to keep himself a little bit safer, but that does mean that he will not hit his fourth item spike here. Whereas Eminem is going to be dealing so much damage if he gets the opportunity to. And you have to feel like it's hard, right? There is a lot of CC that can come out from DCG. But next dragon in 3 minutes and 20 seconds will be the decider for that soul. As well as Baron coming up before then. And as we saw before, Baron can be melted in mere moments now. Just so much damage coming out from both teams. A lot of pick potential from both sides as well. So despite the game being relatively even, it can be, broken away from that at a moment's notice. Currently, River Control does favor the side of DCG. Blue Trinket comes out, actually, so we're maybe worried about some kind of Baron sneak over there. It is the zone is completed by Pretender, so it's going to be pretty safe, but Eminem is still itemized full damage, which I think you kind of have to in this game, but it also does require you to make sure you can avoid the multitude of threats that come out of DCG.
Yeah, absolutely. As 4 items comes across for both these 80 carries, it is Bloodthirster for Criscado, so going to be even that much harder to be able to die in these team fights, and I'm kind of looking to Pretender to find something, honestly. While we do have solo kill and Hollow, obviously, it's been this guy in the early stage of the game, especially with those shoves, alongside Kaiwing's Thresh, but finding so much room to maneuver, especially around these objectives.
Certainly has, yeah, and Criscado now has himself the BT, so it's going to be a lot tankier for himself as well. Only 20 more seconds on this Baron, so you might think might just come down to the 5v5 on the mid-wave again. And I guess, looking at solo kill as well, obviously he was playing the tank versus tank matchup, but didn't find anywhere near the same kind of lead that he did in that first game. Ooh, Hook does kind of just go wide. Malphite has a really good flank here on the bot side. Hanabi, maybe he will finally use the Malphite ult. What if they win without using it?
Well, we saw a win yesterday with no KP.
True. And he got MVP as well. Ooh,
Explosive Cask will not manage to find Kaiwing just yet, but nice Weaver's Wall will split up the team. They aren't able to get on Criscado, importantly, so that's just 2 major team fights, 1 for each side going down.
And just a minute away now on the drag. I'm not sure if anyone will look to pressure Baron before it. Feels like the soul is too important. As the 5v5 on midwave continues, sidewave's just being completely ignored at the moment. Both teams know if someone goes to the side, there's so much engage that can come out. Have to be extremely careful. Looks like Frank are the ones that are going to maintain control of it. Hanami's actually going to go back bot side.
Solokil does manage to find a knock up there, but nothing else to follow. And 30 seconds out from this Dragon Soul. What are we going to see? Kaiwing now is going to recall, so that should give priority over this river here to DCG.
They have to cancel these, surely. I don't think you can base here. I mean, Solokil can, he is TP, but Kaiwing definitely cannot. TP does come in from solo kill.
Yep, getting there early to be that front line for his team and perhaps face check if need be, as wave priority is in favor of DCG. They're going down, knockup will go wide as well as that thresh hook. So now what are they going to be able to do? Orca is sitting up in this dragon pit. They're looking. Are they able to find anything? Not just yet. It is solo kill getting jumped on, but again, just this mega tanky Cassante will be okay for now.
The Lantern was used there, though, and it's not going to be up yet. Keep your eyes on Eminem and see if he can actually DPS or not. Now, the side of DCG, they don't have a flank at all. Or actually, Orca has one on the side. Hollow spots it out.
Yeah, nice sapling to spot it out as Dragon is started. We've got what I think could possibly be a lengthy Dragon dance ahead of us here. Pretender looking for an angle for his Weaver's Wall to perhaps split up the team and find a winning team fight for the rest of them. And it is half health now as Dragon, as Weaver will come through and split up the team. Nature's Grass to follow. Orca's finding an angle. It only will land onto Hollow for now, as Dragon confirmed here for Hollow. The team fight following. Can they do anything? It's Eminem trying to find the damage necessary. Cascada has a massive feather storm, but is not able to find the damage on the back end. It's ultimately Eminem in the middle of 4. Can he find the damage? So many low health bars. Kaiwing picks up one. Eminem now gets excited. It's going to be another kill for him. Double kill, Dragon Soul, and probably the game here for Frank.
Well, the game is on a knife's edge for pretty much the entire game, and all of a sudden it is Frank to come up big in that team fight, secure themselves the Dragon, which makes the remainder of the fight so easy for them. And I think questionable use maybe of the Malphite ult. It felt like Eminem in that fight. He didn't have to stopwatch or flash the Malphite ult. Where are these cooldowns going, man? How is Eminem allowed to just free hit? We'll see the damage there. The 2 ADCs that were just allowed to DPS for free, but it is Eminem who comes out on top. Last kills go down, and finally, after the game being so even for so long, 40 minutes in, Frank will pick up game number 2. Oh, man.
I can't believe.
Replay.
I cannot believe how close that game was.
I need a replay of that last fight. I don't know what are Malphite and Rakan doing. How is Eminem just allowed to free hit like that? I do think the Nature's Grasp and the Weaver's Wall did a great job of kind of cutting that fight in half. But I still feel like just the fact that Eminem is playing this immobile, flashless AD and is just getting to kind of not have to flash and not have to stopwatch either of those cooldowns. It seems so strange. In fact, the Malphite ult might have even been used defensively. Hopefully we will get a replay of it, because I was left confused.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, impressive, honestly, out of Eminem to be playing Jinx into the comp that he was and find so much success. I mean, there were hints of trouble there in the middle stages of the game, but ultimately it is Frank finding that Dragon Soul and the game at the same time. And I mean, yeah, as I just said, Eminem, I think we have to look to. I don't know how you can play Jinx so well to just avoid all deaths.
Yeah, it was a really nice bounce back performance, I think, from both the bot lane of Frank Esports. Fell very far behind in game number 2, but I think they both had a massive performance. Game number 3, Kaiwing kind of was the cat